If you feel like you're in your flop era and you're over 40, chances are you're probably right. But here's the good news, you are definitely not alone. So, today on this shame free zone, I like to call Stripped Podcast, I'm going to take another trip down memory lane with you guys and share a little story about when I had to move home in my mid 30s. It was a huge blessing in disguise. It did not feel that way at the time. And by the way, there are way more people than you realize that are in this boat. So, don't feel bad about yourself. Okay, let's dive in. I had zero intention of ever moving back home when I finally made it on my own 2 feet out of the house. So, of course, I love my family and they are incredibly supportive and generous. However, no adult typically wants to move home and live in the spare bedroom as a grown ass adult, right? Like, fuck no. So, at the time, I'm not going to go into all the details, but basically, I had left my corporate career and I was building a new career in Miami Beach. And it was really hard. I was trying to like build a brand new career in health and wellness, with no contacts or whatever. And I kept getting fired from jobs, even though I was overqualified. And so I had this whole plan like, I'm going to like, I thought I was going to stay in the hospitality industry just in wellness and work for a corporation. I didn't think I would become an entrepreneur. But I quickly realized it wasn't working out in the 9 to 5, and I had it in me. I had that entrepreneur spirit. So I was like, no, I can probably make this work. But it's terrifying to become an entrepreneur because you're totally responsible, right? So in the back of my mind, I always had those fears, but I was also very driven and creative. So I'm like, maybe I can do this. So anyway, by like the third time that I gotten fired from my 9 to 5, even though I was trying so hard to hold on to a job, I was simultaneously building my business at this time and I was working 3 different jobs. So I had my 9 to 5. I was actually working as a bar instructor and then I was doing massage therapy on the side. And then I was also at like privately seeing private clients, not working at a spa. And then I was also building my tarot reading and astrology reading business. So first and foremost, I was burned out. Like I was at capacity. Second of all, I still, even doing all the things that I was doing, was not making enough money to catch up. Like I was always behind. So I just got to the certain point at the end of 2015 where I was like, I don't think I can do this. Like I had signed the lease. I was, whatever. I had a cute little apartment, but I couldn't keep up with the bills. So my last possible resort was moving home at this point because it was humiliating. I felt like a loser. But therein lies the lessons, right? So, long story short, I did end up going home. Now, I thought I would be home for like a year max. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to stay that long. I'll go, I'll keep building my business. Once I'm on my feet, I will come back to Miami and that'll be that. And it's going to be totally fine. It's short term. Guess what, babes? I was in the fucking house for like almost 6 years. Now, building a business has a lot of ups and downs. I don't know if this was just my personal experience, what I had to go through. Obviously, you navigate a lot of your shadow when you start a business. So there were so many lessons that I didn't expect. But again, now looking back, I can understand why I had to go through this. And I'm going to tell you. So something very interesting started happening. I've been home now for a couple of years. At this point, I'm already like, it's like way past one. I haven't like worn out my welcome, but it's sort of that thing where you start to realize like, okay, I need to get the fuck out of here, but also like, how am I going to do this? Because then COVID happened. And that was just like, are you kidding me? It just delayed everything another year and a half. So at this point, I was desperate. When COVID happened, this is 2020, I was so anxious that I was never going to get out of the house. Like, I just couldn't understand how I was going to make it work. But what I did know was that people were home at that time. And I also realized, okay, I'm stuck in the house. There's a lot of stress, there's a lot of pressure. Everyone in my house was kind of hyper about the news. I'm not like that, but like, that was just kind of the vibration. So I was struggling with that. And the thing that happened, which was the first blessing of moving home and again going through this whole shame cycle of like, I failed. I actually used to have a career in New York. Why did I leave? What the fuck am I doing? I got a divorce and I tried to start over in Miami and I felt like a total flop. So I'm like, what the hell did I do with my life? Did I completely fuck up? Where did I go wrong here? And I had a lot of those stories that I was like sifting through. You know what I mean? Like a lot of shit came up. But anyway, when 2020 happened, I was so desperate to feel better because at this point I'm feeling trapped. I'm feeling anxious. I'm feeling frustrated. I'm feeling depressed because I'm like, I'm never going to get out of here. I can't get ahead of myself. Now my business is dying. What it forced me to do was start to meditate. I was like, I have tried everything, but what I haven't done is meditate consistently every single day. I just had that nudge that I should do it more consistent. I had always dabbled, but I had never done it every single day. So I ended up finding this women's group with this woman in England who was doing this like Mary Magdalene type of group, and it was a year long. And it was exactly the medicine that I needed at the time because it forced me to, number one, shift into my feminine energy instead of this like masculine overdrive of trying to fix my situation and get myself out of the house in just an analytical way, you know, or in a doing way. Like, oh my God, I have to build more offers. I have to do this, I have to do that. Blah, blah, blah. That wasn't even working, to be honest. There was something going on where I was being forced to learn to receive and to surrender in a way that I had absolutely never done in my entire life, not to this extent. And so I joined this women's group. I start to meditate regularly, and things definitely started shifting pretty quickly once I started my meditation practice. And I remember we were about like maybe 3 months into that group, and the woman running it said to me on one of our group calls, this is a small group, like maybe 8 women. She's like, Allie, you are going to move out this year. I couldn't see it. I was like, nah, I don't think so. I was like, I have no idea how that's going to happen. I don't even have any clients right now. I have no programs. Everything is dead. Like, thanks for holding the vision, but you're Delulu. I'm not getting out of here. Good fucking luck. But I really wanted it. And so I did set the intention that it would happen, but I had absolutely no clue how the fuck it was going to happen in that time frame. But here's the thing, time is not linear, you guys. You can collapse timelines very quickly when your intention is clear and you get behind it. If it is meant for you and it's meant to align, it's going to align for you quicker than you might think. This has happened with all of my one-to-one clients. They doubt it. They're like, no, I don't know. And then it's like weeks into us working together, they have some massive activation or something changes suddenly that they didn't expect. Be forewarned. It's a good thing, but it can be crazy when you're going through it. So anyway, she told me I was going to move and I didn't really believe her, but I wanted it. And then what do you know? As we shift into 2021, because I joined her group in the summer, this was maybe like 6 to 7 months into the group, I decided to hire a mentor, like a coach, a branding person. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to create a program because now that I've been meditating every day and I'm learning how to receive and I'm in my feminine energy insofar as like, you know, learning how to lean back, not chasing all the time, not trying to force things. Like I really truly surrendered to being at home. And I started to realize when I was meditating that I was not trapped. I was feeling trapped. My ego was telling me, you're trapped, you're stuck. This is prison. But what I started to realize when I was meditating was that the prison was my mindset. I had to, this was the intuitive sort of download I received in that period. I had to feel free exactly where I was before that physical door to the house was going to open for me to move out. So I started playing with that. And we lived in like a nice house in a nice neighborhood, one of these like fancy kind of like gated community in Florida where you have all the nice amenities and stuff. So instead of feeling like a fucking victim and having a pity party and crying in my bedroom every night and feeling like a loser, I decided to just play with the abundance that was there. Even though I didn't have the money I wanted yet, even though I didn't have the clients I needed, even though I couldn't understand how the hell I was going to move out and actually pay all my bills, I was like choosing to feel grateful and abundant for every tiny little thing that I could find. And in this period that I was doing that, I'm talking like, okay, we have a beautiful pool, go and lay there and lie in the sun and let yourself receive and think about the things that you desire and start to try to feel rich, you know what I mean? Even though you don't feel that way and even though you feel stuck, like play with it. See all the things that you can amplify that are already going well. it's a game. It's like a mind game. You have to play it with yourself. And so after a while, I did start to feel better and I started to feel more magnetic and I started to feel more empowered because I was not feeling like a victim anymore. I wasn't playing into that story. The hook was there, but I wasn't biting. You know, I was trying really hard through my meditation practice to really allow myself to feel good, even though my ego felt like shit. Okay. So like I said, about 6 or 7 months into that women's program, I got this idea to hire a branding coach. I was like, okay, well, I have a little bit of money saved. I didn't really want to spend it because I thought I was going to need it later. But I'm like, if I invest in my growth right now and I commit to launching something within the next 2 months, then I could potentially move out. If I get enough money, I could go somewhere for like a temporary lease and at least get back to Miami and be back on my own. And from there, continue building it. It was kind of like, I'm just going to kind of like put it all on the line and trust that once I do move out, it's going to work out. Again, it's scary as hell, but I was like, I can do this. I do not want to be at home anymore. Like, I'm tired of being here. So I did end up hiring that coach. I did end up launching a program. I committed to my timeline. Within 3 months of us working together, I had the program developed and launched, and I sold multiple spots in it. I ended up making, 5 figures from that launch. And from there, I had the money in the bank. I was like, okay, now I'm going to move out temporarily. I didn't know where I was going to go long term, but I'm like, at least I'll get the fuck out of the house. Again, I love my parents and they were amazing. But again, 5.5 years of this, I'm over it. So, and I was like, I'm going to have to take a leap of faith at some point. And I was practicing receiving. I was practicing that like surrendered state of playing with the situation. And again, realizing that I had to feel free in a space where I didn't feel free in my, mentally. And so that program went really well. I did move out and I was out for about 5 months. And then I started feeling like I had gone backwards because the apartment I moved to in Miami was not, it was fine, but it was kind of like a downgrade. And I'm like, I don't think I'm supposed to be here. I just started feeling like, okay, maybe you've outgrown it and you want to do something more, something bigger, like something scarier. Because I had wanted to move back to New England, but it was just too much, like financially, the distance, the whole thing. I'm like, I can't do it yet. Like, I don't have the resources, I don't have the money. Well, I ended up in that time, once I launched that little mini program, I launched another program. And that was my first year long. I did something similar to what I had been a part of, and I ran this year long women's group. So, fast forward, I do end up moving to New England. I did end up making it work. It was like miraculous, but it somehow it all came together for me to get up here where I am now. And something really interesting was happening in these women's groups. So, I ran that group 2 years in a row. And I noticed that and it was even happening in the 5 week program, but I noticed it more in the year long. I would say 75% of the women that were in these long-term groups ended up moving back home with their family during the course of the year unexpectedly. And I didn't think that that was an accident because number one, I had already been through it and it pushed me to develop my spiritual practice. It forced me to learn to practice receiving, even just like being home, because my parents were cool. Like they weren't stressing me out necessarily in the sense of like pushing me out the door. Obviously, they wanted me to be happy and I wasn't happy. But, I had the support to be there and build my business, but I was putting internal pressure on myself because I felt guilty, I felt ashamed, I felt like I was failing, you know what I mean? And almost like my parents did all of this for me to raise me and this is where I'm at when I'm 40, 40 years old, I'm still at home. So all of that mindset work, all of that receptivity, all of that surrendering and allowing myself to be supported without the guilt, because eventually that went away. But that was my practice. And that's what really, really pushed me to start to meditate. Now, here we are, whatever, 5 years later. And now I have a daily meditation practice. Now I teach people how to meditate. Then I found like my Buddhist community. I ended up becoming Buddhist, taking vows. Like so many things have happened since then. But I know that that was like my incubator, that time when I was at home, which was much longer than I expected. And there was a lot of like family healing that had to happen, mother healing. Again, learning how to receive because most of our parents didn't teach us that. But like the women that I was working with in that time period after I moved out were going through the exact same thing. And all of them were learning how to be more consistent with a spiritual practice, how to shift their mindset. Because again, if we start manifesting situations where we feel trapped, there's something going on internally. We're also getting a need met. Yeah, we're not happy because we're at home with our parents, but then it's like you don't have to be responsible. You don't have to step up to the plate. You don't have to worry about certain things, right? They're taking care of it. So you get to sort of like be a child again. And as annoying as that can be and as frustrating as it can be, there's also some comfort in that because you're not having to fully adult. And again, lead yourself and take that responsibility. But it's like the play of the masculine and feminine energy of like overdoing. I was trying to strategize everything and burn myself out, and it simply wasn't working. I had to learn to pull back. I had to learn how to relax. I had to learn how to stop doing all the time and allow there to be a spaciousness around me energetically so that there was room for something new to come in. And I also had to start taking responsibility for myself completely and my journey and start leading myself every day, becoming more self led. And my meditation practice was really helping me do that. And so it was just interesting when I was working with these women because they were struggling with the same stuff, the shame, the fear, the insecurities, the guilt, the frustration of like interacting with your parents as an adult. And the ego trip, you know what I'm saying? Like the blow that it takes to your ego to have to surrender to the fact that things are not the way that you want them to be. But here's the thing, you guys, timelines are not linear. Like you're not, if you think you're stuck, like it's happening for a reason. And I had to be devoted to like my inner peace before the circumstances were peaceful. I had to be devoted to like abundance before the money showed up. I had to plant those seeds in my mind and water them through my practice before I saw the actual physical result. And that's what these times offer to us, where we feel like we're falling backwards. You feel like you're failing. You feel like you're a flop. You face planted. You guys, the only way to go from rock bottom is fucking up, baby. So nothing is happening by accident. Like you've created these circumstances for some reason subconsciously because number one, you're getting a need met, whether you like it or not. It's in a shadowy way. It's like in a sort of distorted way, but you're getting something from it or it wouldn't be happening. And number two, you know, you don't find your power until you feel disempowered usually. Like you have to go through a period where you feel like a victim or you feel like you're powerless and helpless in order to reclaim that power. So that's what this season really did. Like this season of stripping me from everything that I was clinging to, like the job in Miami, like my identity being independent or my hyper independence, which was really just like a trauma response because I didn't know how to receive because I like couldn't let go of my control. I was like, no, I have to be the one that's like managing everything or it's not going to happen. Being at home allowed me to learn to release a lot of that and really learn to be receptive in a way that isn't burnout. It isn't overdoing all the time. I wasn't trying to like prove myself and prove it through productivity. I allowed myself to relax and lean back. And then I ran these women's groups. That's exactly what I was teaching everyone. All of these like hyper masculine overachievers who didn't know how to relax. They didn't know how to rest. They couldn't. So, of course, they were having money struggles. Of course, they were having struggles in intimacy, attracting like whatever man children or people that needed to be taken care of, but like they were getting breadcrumbed. They felt empty or it was like a one way street and they weren't receiving what they wanted. Well, they didn't allow anyone to provide for them. They didn't know how to receive, so they were blocking provision. They were blocking a man in his like leadership, masculine energy. They were attracting like again, Sabrina, man child. She really said hold my beer, by the way, with that latest song. Oh my God. LOL. All right. So anyway, here's the deal. Like I literally wouldn't be, as I was looking at my notes, I wouldn't be where I'm at. I wouldn't have the spiritual practice I have. I wouldn't have the trust, the faith, the surrender. Had I not had to drop to my fucking knees and in my desperation beg the universe for a sign of how I was going to get out of the house after 5+ years, and I heard, you need to meditate. I literally remember it coming through. You need to meditate. I was like, okay. And now meditation may not solve all your problems, but Buddhist meditation is very intentional and specific and methodical, which is why I teach that because I think it's fucking awesome. There's also like neuroscience behind it. So notice that all the studies that they do are on like Buddhist monks. That's because there's a method to the madness, you guys. So if you're in this like liminal space, if you're in this transition period, if you are in an era where you're feeling like you're flopping, I promise that it's happening for a reason and it's probably pushing you to learn the lessons that I was talking about in this episode. Again, can you lean back? Are you actually receptive? Can you create the conditions in your mind so that your world starts reflecting it on the outside? But it has to come from within. Your security, your stability, your peace, your abundance and wealth, it's coming from within you. And then you're projecting it outward. That's when your reality will start to change. So I wouldn't have learned this if I hadn't been forced to. Guaranteed, I would have clung to my job. I would have clung to the attachments that were making me feel like I was succeeding when it's actually just an illusion. Yeah, you do need money. You need to pay your bills. You need certain things in life. But if you're on a spiritual path, you're probably meant to do it in a way that is very different from the people around you. And that's because the people around you are ignorantly attached to things, thinking that their happiness or their whatever is coming, their security is coming from the money, the house, the partner. But it's not, because if all those things are gone, where is it actually coming from? Like, your partner can die. Does your happiness come from your partner? No. Does that mean you'll never feel happy again? Like, yes, it appears on the surface that security comes from money, but there are many people without a lot of money who are joyful or who do have a sense of security that isn't directly attached to money. Therefore, it's not a universal thing. It's not fixed in nature. Money does not equal security necessarily. It's all a projection coming from us, or everyone in the world would have the exact same experience. I know a lot of people who have a lot of money, millions of dollars, and they feel very insecure and unstable. How is that possible if money brings you stability? They don't feel secure and they make like 6 figures a month. Do you know what I'm saying? Money is definitely useful and it brings a certain level of comfort for sure. Don't get me wrong. When I was in survival mode, it fucking sucked. But the truth, the spiritual truth, is that that's not where your security or your happiness actually comes from. So time is not linear. You can make a shift very quickly within yourself, and then your reality can start to change really fast, your outward reality. And how do we do this? We meditate. So here's the deal. I am very excited to share with you guys that the applications for my new membership that's opening, applications are open on Monday, June 16th. You can apply to come into the underground, which is the name of the membership. And our core practice will be a daily meditation. There will be more included. I'm going to be doing like a transmission or a workshop every month. There'll be a theme. There'll be a Telegram like broadcast channel where I'm going to connect like several times a week with you guys, etc. So you can check out all the details. But the underground, this membership, or any of my offerings thus far, like anything that I'm serving you guys and supporting with you guys, supporting you with spiritually, honestly was born from this period of being at home, of being stripped, of feeling like I was falling behind, but I was actually recalibrating. Like I said, it was an incubator. So I really hope that that helps you guys. I hope it makes you feel better. If you are in this in-between period or you do need support, which I promise it is tremendously helpful, that year-long group I was in was the catalyst for me too. Come apply to the membership. Check out all the details. The link to apply and to check out everything that's included in the underground is in the link below. And you can get in at the founding members rate, which is the lowest rate it's going to be. So $69 a month. Obviously, I picked $69 to start. And then that rate is going to be gone like after July 1st. So check out all the details. I would love to have you inside. And then we just build this world together, and I can help you guys with all of these things and more, because I have been there and I have done that. I love you all. Thank you for being here. Thanks for coming back, and I will see you in the next one.